Episode 2 Memory, Not Transcript. How the Real Words of Jesus Were Lost, Shaped, Rewritten, and Recovered. Jesus, the man with the only true plan. Not a Christian channel. A reality channel. If you think you've ever read the words of Jesus, I want you to pause for a moment, because the truth is simple, settled, and not controversial among scholars. We don't have a single sentence. Jesus spoke exactly as he said it. Not one. Not even the Lord's Prayer. But that's not a problem. It's a clue, a doorway. Because once you stop searching for a perfect photograph, you can finally see the portrait. This is Episode 2, Memory, Not Transcript. Part 1. Let's start with the basics. The part churches rarely talk about. 1. Jesus didn't speak Greek. He taught in Aramaic. Short metaphors. Village humor. Puns that don't survive translation. 2. The Gospels were written decades later. That means the very first step in preserving his teaching was translation plus interpretation plus memory, all happening at the same time. 3. And then it gets even more interesting. There were no scribes following Jesus around, no note takers, no leather-bound biographies. His words circulated orally for 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, before the first gospel was written. That's not a flaw. That's how ancient wisdom traditions operated. Meaning, wording, essence, exactness, voice vocabulary. Jesus didn't create Christianity. His followers created memory traditions. Part 2. The two questions that reset everything. Modern scholars had to confront two massive questions. Question 1. Why do Matthew, Mark, and Luke quote Jesus differently? Question 2. If the wording changed, what stayed the same? These questions led to one of the most important discoveries in biblical scholarship. Ipsissima vox. VS. Ipsissima intentio. The very voice. VS. The intended meaning. Jesus' early followers weren't preserving his phrasing. They were preserving his intention. They cared less about how he said it, and more about what he meant. This explains why. Matthew says, poor in spirit. Luke says the poor. Matthew's prayer says debts. Luke says sins. Matthew's Jesus speaks like Moses. Luke's Jesus speaks like a street preacher. Different wording. Sane, structural, ethic. When you understand that, you stop arguing over. And finally, see the system. Part 3. The Lost Gospel of Sayings. When scholars compared Matthew and Luke, they found something shocking. Over 200 verses of identical sayings that do not appear in Mark. Same wording, same placement, same sequence. That means Matthew and Luke were copying from the same earlier document, a document the church lost. Scholars call it Q. What was Q? Not a biography, not a gospel story, not a miracle book. It was a list of sayings, a wisdom manual, a structural ethic. No virgin birth, no resurrection, no water to wine, no Lazarus, no divine titles, just teachings, just instructions for how humans must behave to prevent their society from collapsing. In other words, the original plan. Part 4. The stream of sayings. Q wasn't the only source. Jesus' earliest followers preserved a whole river of sayings that never made it into the final canon. Scholars call them agrapha. Some of these sayings appear in the Gospel of Thomas, Gospel of the Hebrews, Didache, Papias fragments, early church letters, oral traditions from Syria, Egypt, and Judea. Most listeners have never heard these sayings, but they reveal something crucial. Jesus' message was bigger than the four Gospels. Here's one: whoever is near me. Gospel of Thomas, meaning, my message will burn away your illusions. Another: I will give you what eye has not seen, and ear has not heard. Thomas, meaning, I will reveal the world. Another: my mother, the Holy Spirit, carried me to a great mountain. Gospel of the Hebrews, meaning, the divine is not male, not political, not a king. This is not Sunday school Jesus. This is Jesus, the radical. Jesus, the structural critic. Jesus, the philosopher. Jesus, the disruptor. This is the man with the plan. Part 5. The Jesus Seminar and the 82% Problem. In the 1980s, a group of world-class scholars did something bold. They reviewed every saying attributed to Jesus across 3 centuries and over 1,500 sources. They voted using colored beads. Red: Jesus definitely said this. Pink: he likely said something like it. Gray: black. Their conclusion shook the religious world. 82% of Jesus' words are later additions, not fraud, not deception, just normal, ancient storytelling. Communities adapting teachings to fit their needs. This isn't a crisis. It's clarity. Because what survived, what they rated most authentic, reveals the structural core. Love your enemy. Turn the other cheek. Do not retaliate. Do not store up wealth. Do not dominate others. The last shall be first. Truth matters more than ritual. Hypocrisy destroys nations. The kingdom is within you. Do not mirror the harm done to you. Do not become the imbalance that injured you. This is the plan, not religion, not dogma, not mysticism, a psychological and civilizational blueprint for human harmony. Part 6. Why the real words matter. Now the question: why does it matter if Jesus' exact words were lost? Because when you peel away the layers of storytelling and recover the intent, you finally see the clarity he was actually teaching. A clarity that institutions, religious and political, could never tolerate. Empires cannot tolerate non-reciprocity. Churches cannot tolerate anti-hierarchy. Wealthy elites cannot tolerate danger warnings about wealth. Tribal movements cannot tolerate universal neighbor. Corrupt leaders cannot tolerate anti-hypocrisy. Powerful systems cannot tolerate harmony as the moral goal. Jesus wasn't preaching mysticism. He was dismantling domination. That message had to be rephrased, softened, diluted, and in many cases, overwritten. But the core survived. And now the world again collapsing, again traumatized, again fragmented, needs that core, not as religion, as reality. Ending question: if the real teachings of Jesus were designed to prevent civilizational collapse, why do we let institutions tell us that salvation is only for the afterlife? Who benefits from that shift and who suffers? Think about it. This is about Jesus, the man with the only true plan, not a Christian channel, a reality channel